Hey everyone, Miss Malat here. I'm going to talk you through the steps of creating a mask, which is going to be our next project. Each of these steps are going to be broken up into individual videos, so this is going to be step 1. Before we actually even begin, we need to cut ourselves a rectangle for our mask. So it needs to be 8 inches across by 16 inches tall. If you have a directional piece of fabric, you want to read it along the short side. So you could notice along the short side, I can read the words Kansas City Chiefs. If it were running along the long side, it would actually be incorrect on your mask. And I'll show you what that's gonna look like here in the next few steps. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the short end of our fabric and match it up with the other short end. I'm actually gonna turn this around and we're gonna pin across the top because this is gonna be our first step when it comes to sewing. We're gonna sew all the way across here, 5/8 of an inch, backstitch beginning and end, but we're actually gonna leave like a 3-finger opening right in the center. So my 3 fingers is where I'm gonna leave an opening. I'm gonna go ahead and start to pin. As I pin, I'm gonna put my very first pin in the beginning. And then I have like a little trick or hack that makes you remember where you start and stop. So you're gonna put 2 pins side by side and that signals you to stop, almost like a stop sign. So I'm gonna put these 2 pins side by side. Okay, so you're gonna start here backstitch, sew to this pin, end in backstitch, 3-finger opening, and then I'm gonna put 2 more pins here and then keep going. So let me put my 2 pins in. 1, and then 2. And then my very last pin at the end to keep it in line. Perfect. So you can see I have my pin. I'm gonna start here, start here backstitch, end here backstitch. Here's my opening, start here backstitch, end in backstitch. So let's go ahead and take this on over to my machine and we are gonna go ahead and start sewing. So on my sewing machine, we are gonna sew at 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to line up at 5/8 of an inch. I'm gonna lower my presser foot. Now before I even begin, I'm gonna move my phone over a little closer. We wanna pull this first pin because we don't even need it. So turn your hand wheel until it goes down on your fabric. Make sure machine is set at a 2.5 and a 0 at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and backstitch. And then I'm going to continue to go forward and we'll backstitch when we get to our double pins. I'm going to go ahead and take these out and then backstitch. And then I'm going to turn my needle if it's in my fabric up. I'm going to pull this out to the side and I'm going to trim my threads. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and trim my top thread and I'm going to trim my bottom thread. Make sure you trim them completely off. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and trim my top thread and my bottom thread. Get my threads out of the way. Now we're gonna do the same process with the bottom half of our mask. Make sure our threads are pulled back. I'm gonna slide it under, line it up with 5/8 of an inch, pull my 2 pins out because that's where I'm starting. I need to grab my thread so it doesn't get sucked up in my machine. Hold on to it, put my needle down. I'm gonna go forward in the backstitch. And then I'm gonna go all the way down. And when I get close to the end, I'm gonna pause, take my pin out. And we're gonna lift our needle up, trim our threads at the end and at the beginning. And then this is step 1. If you're ready to move on to step 2, you may move on to step 2.